more people. Okay. All right, folks, I think that's, sorry for the delay in the start there. I had a whole flurry of about 20 people who needed the link to get online. I do appreciate your patience. Just as a long story, as I started doing a lot of online meetings and lectures early on in the pandemic, we had some issues with quote unquote Zoom bombing. So I'm very loath to put up open links on social media and the net and have odd sort of things happen in the middle of the lecture. So anyways, this is a little bit more bothersome, but I think it's a little bit, gets us higher quality experience then. So my name is Patrick Bratton. I'm the head instructor of Sala della Spada Historical Fencing, which is a small historical fencing school in central Pennsylvania. With the onset of the pandemic last year, one of the things I wanted to do was to start a lecture series about once or twice a month, and ideally get together people of various backgrounds in the sword community, whether this is HEMA, historical fencing, SCA, Olympic fencing, WMAW folks, and get them together and have a series of lectures about history and theory of fencing, often with a sort of, because my school is sort of an Italian-focused school with an Italian focus, but also branching out into other traditions, which brings us here to Ton today. So I've known Ton for several years now. He's my Montante mentor, as I like to call him. And many of you know Ton, but I'll give you a small background. Ton started in Shotokan Karate in the 1990s and also did Olympic fencing, and is now the head instructor at Academy della Spada in Galicia. And he's well renowned as Destreza, Montante, and many other traditions. He's an awful lot of fun to work with and to learn from. So Ton is going to be talking with us today about the history and practice of the Montante, the great sword that many of you have seen Ton spinning around so elegantly on various videos or in person. So without further ado, I will send it over to Ton.
Well, hello to everyone. I will try to make you suffer as little as possible with this kind of indecipherable English that I speak. If you can call it English, because probably not. So if you don't understand, you can say to me, shut up and repeat it, because a lot of times it's important. We will try to show you PowerPoint, and I have problems with this because I am what is the bad word? Useful or useless, and absolutely yes, and absolutely useless with it. Techniques, things of this horrible, not horrible, but internet and computers and are terrible and very bad. So we will talk a little bit about the history of the Montante, but not only the Montante, the history of the two-hand sword, the Montante, Spadone, and a little bit about Zweihander. This is probably a collection of hypotheses, or maybe one or be more than one, but not is an answer to nothing, because it's difficult to give answers to a mutant reality. Okay, we can start with this, that great sword you speak to me. This is a joke because Spanish political in problems with the justice talk about this guy that you talk to me, So this is the title of the lecture, and we will start with some definition of Montante, the word Montante, because what is Montante? Patrick, I can't see the yeah. Yes, perfect. So the first is the Montante, and we can see the next, please. The next is the very typical Montante, but we can see during the times a lot of different styles of montantes or great swords. The next one, please. So the next one is the origin of the word. In Spanish, this is very important because it comes from the first dictionary in the Spanish language. Es de Sebastián de Covarrubias, is the author. Is del Tesoro de la Lengua Castellana, the treasure of the Castilian language of 1611. Yes, and it's in Spanish is de montar, palabra italiana que quiere decir subir, o porque el montante excede la estatura del hombre, o porque se juega por lo alto. Probably in the next one, I did a horrible translation. You can check it, but I don't sure. If not, I try to do. Yes, comes. It comes from montar. That is an Italian word meaning to climb, either because the upright exceeds the height of the man, or because it displays high up. So the point is really, actually, you can believe in this, probably not, but for sure, the word coming from the Italian word montante, of course. Yes, of course. Can you see the next one, please? So we will go to some definitions of montante, more definitions, more than the Covarrubias dictionary. The next one, it's again in Spanish, and after I will say this is in English, is this is the modern dictionary of today, is la RAE, that is the Real Academia Española, es espada grande, larga y recta, que es preciso esgrimir con ambas manos y luego meter el montante y demás. After this, we will have the Diccionario de Autoridades, that is 1734, is the next one big dictionary in the Spanish language. Call it espada ancha y con gabinales muy largos que manejan los maestros de armas con ambas manos para separar las batallas en el juego de la esgrima. And the next one is again Covarrubias. Let's go to the next one because if I remember well, I have some translation there. Yes, exactly. Right, this is the dictionary of today. It's a large, long, straight sword that had to be built with both hands. And the next one is to put the montante. It's a different thing, In the Diccionario de Autoridades, we have a broadsword with very long quilons, and this is very important, this idea of very long quilons, because the normal way in the montantes have very long quilons. Not all the montantes, of course, but it's very usual and probably makes sense for some techniques. And used by masters of arms with bow hands to separate battles in fencing. This is, again, a very important idea, not in the first times of the montante, after we can take an overview about this, but in the modern times of the montante, in the second part probably of the 16th century or the 17th century, and especially the 18th century, at least in Spain, probably in Italy too, and in Portugal, of course. Hello. And probably it's much more better to talk about Iberian montante than Spanish montante, because at the end it's the same tradition. So this concept of the separate battles, and we must understand that I'm not sure in Portuguese, but in Spanish, the term battle, batalla, sometimes means sport fight. Not exactly sport, the concept of the sport at the times, So not all the times, but they use very usual the concept of batalla as a sport combat, or at least not real combat. So we can go to the next one, because this is definitions of other things. And in this case, this is Spanish. I'm not sure if in Portuguese exists the same, because let's go to the next one. Spadone. All of you knows that in Italian, the name Espada is the normal one, and Spadone is the big one, is the augmentative. So in Spanish, Espadón, in one moment, is the augmentative, is the big sword, Espada, espadón. Italian is espada, spadone. But in this case, it's a little bit different. And this is very interesting, Today, not the first one, Covarrubias, 1611. vale por hombre castrado. After we will take an overview in English about this, you know. And today, in the in the today dictionary, personaje de elevada jerarquía en la milicia y por ende de otras jerarquías sociales, militar, golpista, hombre castrado. And in Diccionario de Autoridades, 1732, it's big sword. In this case, it's big sword, but el castrado, eunuco, capón. Again, let's go to see this in English. Next one, this. Today, you know? Today, yes, it's augmentative of espada, but it's a person with a high rank in the militia and by extension in other social hierarchies, but is a military coup leader. This is a good translation in English or not? You know, this military to kick in the ass of the government and put himself in this, you know? I don't know why, but they use this kind of, probably is for some 19th century expressions in the moment in Spain, and right now I'm talking about Spain. In the 19th century, the governments, the kings and the queens was a very conflicted period, you know? For example, it's very usual, the expression ruido de sables. Ruido de sables is sabers noise, you know, so the point is the military people all the times is in problems with the government. So in this case, we have the military in high rank or includes a castrated. Why? Who knows? A castrated. One Spadone is again a castrated. In the Covarrubias in 1611, it's only castrated man. But in the Dictionary of Authorities in 1732, the first meaning is very large word, and the second one is the castrated. So Spadone is more or less large word, but usually it's not large word in the Spanish language. It's high level military rank or maybe castrated. Let's go to the next one, please. Yes. In this case, it's a portrait of the first one. The second one is a joke only for the Spaniards because there's problems in the 80s with the military after the dictator Franco. So this is the reason, because the bloody Tejero, you know, he attacks the government, the legal government. And I think it's not necessary to present the guy who stay over the next guy. So the next one, please. This is the other usual name in Spanish today for the Montante, but today, because it's not true, you know, mandoble. Mandoble means double hand. So a lot of people think that the mandoble was a Montante or double hand sword, but it's not true. At the time, in the 16th and 17th century, it's a kind of hit or a kind of technique, you know. But after, in the authorities, in the Diccionario de Autoridades, they call it like yes, it's like giving. It's a cat like giving with both hands because it's very strong. But actually, in some definition of techniques, is from the wrist, you know, only this. So this is important if you are reading in Spain. If you read mandoble or you read espadón, it's for today. At the times they call it montante, and this is very strange. Let's go with the next one. But we are talking about sword, at least on a specific typology. This is very difficult to say. In my opinion, no. There are a lot of different kinds of the conception of montante. Why? Because montante can talk about the Zweihander, can talk about two-hand sword, can talk about long sword, can talk about a lot of different things. Next one, please. So we will take an overview. This guy, of course, this is a Landsknecht. The next one, because maybe we can start to the sword function, at least in this case, in the early days. And what is the early days in the Montante or the Zweihander or includes the Spadone? The early days that we know is in the end of the 15th century and the first part of the 16th century. So the first things that we know about this is the tactical use of these weapons in the battlefield. There are different theories because everybody thought about in the battlefield, the infantry wins the battle against the chivalry. And we know that the big formation with the long pikes, and some people talking about the Albert and the Montante for destroy open holes in this formation. And other people talks about not, it's only in the flanks or it's only for defense, the flag. There are different theories, but anyway, it's very clear that they use a lot the Montantes, Zweihanda, or Spadone in the first part of the 16th century. So we can go to the next one, and we will have, yes, a battle there. This is the Battle of Alesia. Of course, the Battle of Alesia, if it's Alesia, it's in the Roman times, but the important is the time of the picture, you know, that this is 1533, and it's Melchior Fesseling in Bavaria. So we can see different weapons, and we can see in the next detail. Yes, in the next we can see a detail. Yes, we can see this. What is this? Probably is we can call it Zweihanda. We can call it longsword, because in this moment we can we have a lot of different types, and we have a lot of different how's the word, lengths of sword, you know. So this is, for example, in this case, the word is very typical of the Katzvalger. We have the Katzvalger for one hand. We have but what is the name? Katzvalger with both hands, or this longsword, or this is Zweihander, Bierhander. There are a lot of different things, but anyway, it's a battle sword. It's a sword for the battle. Let's go with the next one. We have more pictures about this, about the use, you know, in the battles. This is from 1568. We can see in the part of the center different swords in the front. We can see arquebus. We can see close to us, we can see Albert, and we have big swords. What kind of sword? Who knows, you know? When I said what kind of sword, it's the Zweihand we all of us are think right now with false swords and these kind of things, or not. It's impossible to see, but probably all is working together. Probably, even we are talking about 1568. The next one, please, because this is for. This is the next one is interesting because it's a draw from Marianne Lancien, from the guy who lives between 1593 and 1615. So who knows? You can see here again something like a Flamberge Montante or not. Who knows? This is not very important. This is the idea of the use of the big swords at that times, because it's a battle of the first of the 16th century in the German wars, religion wars, you know. So the next one, we can show a picture of one Katzvalger, probably for both hands, not only for one, but or maybe for one. But we will start in the next one talking about the use of the Duemani sword, or maybe the use of the Espada de dos Manos, because in Spain the name is Espada de dos Manos. In Italy the name is Duemani, the Espada Duemani, and obviously is two-hand sword in English. And what happens in this case? I like to talking with the people, but in this case, it's a little bit too long exposition of this, so we will talk about this. This is, of course, Marozzo. It's Achille Marozzo. This is the Opera Nova, but it's the next version of Opera Nova. Probably I have the time here. Yes, this is published in 1568. It's very late, and of course, the pictures change. The draws are changing. But the interesting thing about the Marozzo book, not only this, the first one in the 30s, is the use of the sword of Duemani, the Spada Duemani. What happens? We have no treatise talking about the use of the previous using of this word. Nobody describes us really with techniques the use of these words in the battlefield. But usually we have, at these times, these centuries, we have, it's very difficult to have treatise, sometimes about the pike, sometimes about different weapons, but it's difficult to find a treatise describing the techniques for use in a battlefield. Probably because maybe it's a very simple technique. I always imagine a boom, 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 and probably nothing more. But in this case, in the use of the Spadone of Marozzo, we have a very long and very beautiful description of and collection of the Assalti of Marozzo. And what is the Assalti of Marozzo? The Assalti of Marozzo, at the end, is a choreography, an imaginary choreography, fighting with another fencer, And this is very important. In this case, we can imagine fighting only against one guy, not more people, At the end is a collection of kata in the Japanese tradition, or Tao in the Chinese tradition, or I don't remember in the Korean tradition, but there are a collection of choreographies. So the interesting point here, and for me, it's very important there. You are fighting against one guy. If you reproduce the Assalti, is always, the word is not forward, maybe it's forward, and maybe going one or to one side and again, but against only one person. The next one, the next one picture of this, please. Yes, this is only because this book is beautiful, and this is only because I like to see it. So the next one. Yes, it's a list of authors who talking about the Spadone, or maybe talking about the Spadone. This is not complete because I'm not sure if there are all of them there, So the first one is Filippo Bardi. We don't conserve Filippo Bardi, but it seems that Filippo Bardi talks about the use of the Mani or Montante. The same thing is Pietro Monte, Probably Pietro Monte was Italian. Some people said that maybe he was a Spaniard. We have discussions with Roberto Gotti all the time because he said, no, was Italian. And Manuel Valle, no, he was a Spaniard, but probably was Italian. And anyway, he's talking about this. Achille Marozzo, of course, but Achille Marozzo talking for sure about the Spada due Mani. Francesco Di Sandro Altoni, Camillo Agrippa, Giacomo Di Grassi, Giovanni Dalla Gocce, Lobino, Federico Ghislero, Francisco Ferdinando Alfieri. Alfieri is one of the most important collection of techniques of the world of the big sword, and it's very, very interesting and probably complementary with the Iberian swords. And the last one is very long, it's very late. It's very late. It's Carlo Giuseppe Colombani, because it's very late describing of the use on the use of the Montante. The next one, it's the collection of the Spaniards and Portuguese people, the Iberian people. The loose treatise of Jaume Pons, Pedro de la Torre. These guys is in the end of the 15th century. For sure, they talk about the use of the espada de dos manos. The last one of the loose treatise, an important loose treatise, is Francisco Roman, and this is very late, it's 1532. And there, we don't conserve it, The next one is, of course, Luis Barbaran. And Luis Barbaran, in the manuscript of the 1526-28, there are 9 rules, but the guy talking about the use of the espada de dos manos, not the use of the Montante. He don't say it Montante. And this is very, very interesting, and we will look here more after, So after this, we have an anonymous. It's very interesting, found in Toledo, if I remember well, in 1563. Was very interesting because probably the guy was a boring student, and in a book of theology, he takes some notes, about probably the other guy is talking about God or maybe the Virgin Mary, and the guy is, but yeah, very interesting. But let me to remember the rule of the Montante. The guys wrote it. So the next one is Carranza, Jerónimo Sánchez de Carranza, the first guy in the Destrezas world. He's interesting, but a little bit difficult because not describing the use of the Montante. He have a conversation in the book with a Bulgar master and kidding him a lot, and it's very funny to read it in Spanish, but translated to English is very hard, and I can't do this. The next one is Pablo de Paredes. Pablo de Paredes was one of the bodyguards of the King Philip II. He teach to the young nobles the use of the sword. Actually, he don't wrote the rules. There was a French teacher of Philip III. He was friend of Pablo de Paredes. He have a collection of some rules, and it's very interesting. After this, one of the most important probably the second most important collection is Luis Godinho. After Luis Pacheco de Narváez in the Destreza tradition, and he don't describe a lot, but it's very interesting. Luis Díaz de Viedma, again, this is 1639. And they don't like very much the Montante, but he describes some interesting things. After this, probably the most important collection, I think probably not, it's the most important collection, not only because of the extension, but it's very big, 16 rules, simple and complex, so 32, and this is very, very hard. It's not necessarily my favorite, Godinho it's brilliant, and Alfieri too, but in this case, it's the most important. The next one is Miguel Pérez de Mendoza, 1675, and some instruction of this guy are very interesting, and mostly because he describing the use of the flame. And the last one is Diego Rodrigo del Canto in 1742, or maybe a little bit before, because never was published. And the guy is very interesting because described the use of the Montante for separating the battles, the sport fights. And if you remember, the definition of the dictionaries talking about this, because this definition of dictionaries is from the 18th century, and this guy coming from the 18th century. But not only this, for example, Diego Gómez de Figueredo in Oplosofia in 1630 talking about this, but they use for separate the fights in the palestra, the Montante, or maybe includes the Albert. So it's a little bit crazy, but the favorite of Diego Gómez de Figueredo is the long stick, his favorite tool for do this. So the next one, please. This is interesting, but I don't know in Portugal. So Felipe, you must look for this because for you it's much more easy than for me. But we know when appears in Spanish. And in Spanish, of course, all of this can change because maybe we can find tomorrow a new treatise or a new different thing. But for now, this word appears for first time in one chivalry book, in the Crónica de Dramón. It's an anonymous of the 1492, if my information is true. And he said, he seated on the hip chair with a Montante in his hands, blah, 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 blah. This book don't describe nothing more, only talking about the Montante. And in the end of the 15th century. I don't know if all of you knows what is a chivalry book or a chivalry novel. It's something like a comic of superheroes comic. Something like a superhero film. Actually, yes. Why? Because at the end, they talking. All of you knows the Orlando, the opera of Orlando, and this kind of tradition of the big heroes. Like there are different series, the Arthur series of the Charles. How was the name in English of Charles the Great? Yes, can be. Okay, so this is a very fantastic novels about superhuman that they can use a horse that flies, magic swords, a lot of things, fantastic things. We can some pictures of books of chivalry novels. You can go to the next one. We can see, yes, this is Florileo. All the names was fantastic, Florileo, and coming from different parts of United Kingdom, but it's a mythical United Kingdom. Maybe some Greece, maybe some, and all is beautiful. No? This is the great and the beautiful night. Sorry. The next one, please, because we have some more. And the next one, again, we have Prima León. There are 3 books, Palmerín de Oliva. Amadís de Gaula is the most typical, but I'm looking for some a little bit different. Let's go for the next one. And the next one, I don't know. Yes, is this guy. El enano, el cura, el barbero. The next one, please. And again, Sancho Panza, La Linda Maritornes, and the next one, it's, who is this? And the next one is La sin par Dulcinea del Toboso y el ingenioso hidalgo Don Quijote de la Mancha. Why? Because I don't know, probably everybody around the world knows Don Quixote, of course, as everybody knows in the English tradition, everybody knows the Shakespeare, ¿cómo se dice? Obras de teatro. Well, Shakespeare tradition, But I don't know if everybody knows that what means Don Quixote at the time. And probably if we want to understand Don Quixote today, we must to think in one old guy, to read too much superhero comics. He put one pajama and take a towel and put in the neck, and let's go to defending the people. That's the idea of Don Quixote, because the superhero comics at the time were the chivalry novels. So Cervantes are kidding with this idea. The reason because Don Quixote, it's in an armor and walking across Spain for defending the people, it's exactly like some crazy Batman of today, very, very old, This is the reason because I select this. So this is very nice, and I love Don Quixote, and I love these pictures. Look in the left part, the beautiful Dulcinea. So in this is beautiful, the lady, This is a German edition. So probably this is the reason, because in the neck of Don Quixote is an exaggerated lechuguilla, It's so exaggerated because usually in the time, I don't remember what time is this, but this is in the first of the very, very close to the first edition of Don Quixote. But usually in the 17th century and including the 16th century, the Spaniards were represented with a big, the name of this is lechuguilla, I don't know in other languages. So let's come back to the Montante. I'm so sorry because Don Quixote and the chivalry novels are lovely, but let's go to boring, yes, 14, yes, La sin par Dulcinea del Toboso, yes. So coming back to the Montante word, next one, please. Yeah, so sorry. This is the terrible moment in the priest, what is the name? Sanson Carrasco, and the nephew born in the books of chivalry, and Don Quixote is ill in the bed. You can see the armor, the cuirass, the helmet, and the spear in the floor, and the poor Don Quixote is very sad. Yes, it's very sad because destroy his books and his illusion for the life. It was terrible. But we have another book for read more for Don Quixote, about Don Quixote, is the second part. This is the end of the first part. So let's go to come back again to the bloody Montante. So this is only a presentation, again, one source from the end of the first time of the 16th century, German words, in this case, if I remember well, this representing the Swiss armies, Let's go. And the next guy we will talking about, it's this, Pietromonte, Petrus Montius, because Petrus Montius, Pietromonte, wrote in Latin, you know. This guy is very, very interesting because he talking about the play of the two-hand sword. And this is very interesting. The next picture, please. The next one, yes. In Spanish. This is a very fast translation from one guy of Academia de Espada. And this is not the translation of the last one, you know. So maybe it's not exactly the same, but it's probably is very close. The two-handed sword method is also played for short boats. This game is Bulgaric Khaled Levada. Yeah, we begin to teach the first blows that have to be known in order to learn. I thought blah 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 blah. Yes, this is the important thing here. You know, in one part for the research is looking for the term levada. This is very interesting, but not necessary for the Montante too. It's very interesting in all the fencing studies, and not only the fencing studies. In the tournament, they use the term levada too. But the most important for us try to do one tradition of this is here, you know. Yes. However, the most important blows of the two-handed sword are two ascending blows, which we Bulgari call montantes. Yes, because why? What meaning the term montante in the Italian tradition and the Italian language? Ascending hit, you know. We have defendente and we have the montante. And if we remember well, the dictionary tell all the time that this is a Italian word, you know. In the case of Covarrubias, the first dictionary is a little bit crazy. Maybe because it's too high, or maybe because it's in a mode. No, guys, it's because it's ascending cat, you know. But we have this in 1509 in Pietromonte, and he said that all the play of the two-hand sword start with these ascending cuts, and this is very interesting. But in this case, we can imagine that they are talking about the practice, not necessarily the real fight, because the real fight is stupid. You never will start one real fight all the time in the same way, because you are stupid. But levada, meaning some kinds of, how to explain in English, not exactly one salute, but a little bit in the case of you are doing, okay, let's go. Not exactly one flourish, but something close to one flourish. Let's go to the next, please. So in this case, we have the Italian connection, in my opinion, just for sure, you know. We have the concept of levada. We have the two upward ascending cuts. We will have in the next the putting the right and the left leg in, that we can see in the next description. We can read it in the next description, because the next description, please, let's go to the next one. Well, this is levada. I think I can't, I forget to translate this, but he said that this word in the play of the fencing is the guy who go to fight with his, in this case, probably companion, not exactly enemy, make some cuts, you know, tajos and reveses to the air, ascending. And he said for something like a warm-up, because it said in Covarrubias, talking about the entrar en calor y facilitar el movimiento del brazo. Entrar en calor is warm up, and to do the, you know, to do more flex, the movement of the arm. So this is the term levada. After, I think, will be very hard to translate in English all the text, so I will be very hard in English, but fuck it. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, I know that in English is very hard, but in Spanish, no. So let's go again. Italian connection. Let's go to the next one. Sorry. And we arrive to Luis Barbarán. And this is very, very interesting. Luis Barbarán was a, joder, ¿cómo se traduce? Notario. Well, not a lawyer exactly, not exactly close, but in this way, you know. And we know that the notes of Luis Barbarán, we did it in between 1526 and 1528 because he used an official paper, you know, and we have two different dates in the official papers. So he used this. He have nine rules of espada a dos manos, of two hands sword, not Montante. He don't talk about the about Montante. So he said, in the name of God and the Lord Saint George, the first rule of the two hands sword is al mutante. Entering, I don't know if it's a good translation, but putting the right leg, you know. But he said al mutante. This is very important because he says mutante, and probably, not probably, for sure, this is a corruption of the Italian word montante. Because today, mutante in Spanish meaning mutant, like a X-Men, you know, but in this case, probably is not this kind of mutants, this kind of mutantes. So he said this, and he said, one ascending cut, you know, putting the right leg. And after said, fast mutante, put in the left leg. And after you come back, you know. If you think about this, the guy wrote al mutante. And what is one al mutante? Years after, Carranza, he wrote in 1569, you know, he said all kind of weapons, or the Bulgar master talking about the rules of the Montante, and he said, I know all the rules of the Montante, the past and the modern rules, and I am fantastic with this, you know. Not Carranza is the Bulgar master who said this, you know, and I know all of this, the Montantes, Famontantes, and all the rest of the rules. He described the rest of the rules a little bit. But in this case, what is this of Famontante? Yeah, we can read fast mutante. Of course, if it is an Italian word, mutante is montante, and probably all of you knows what meaning falso montante. One falso montante is no, I will explain to you, and I will try. So define this. Un falso montante is one ascending cut, but with a false age. The Bolognese tradition is plenty of hits with a false age. So one montante is one ascending cut. One falso montante is one ascending cut with a false age. And you can see that the word is the same. When you are starting the rule, putting in go forward with the right leg, you can have one cut with the true age, and the next one you must do with the false age. And we will see this rule again many years after. We will see exactly the same rule. So the next one, please, talking about Barbarán. Well, excuse me. Only for, yes, the next one, please. And the next rule, Barbarán, I don't know if it is the next one, because, yes, okay. We can see in this German treatise of the first part of the 16th century, probably a lot of these cuts are ascending cuts, you know, for the use of this weapon. Only for say something more about Barbarán, we can talking a lot about him, but the second rule, he said that you must put in the right leg with a mandrete. You know, what is a mandrete? Of course, it's one mandrito in the Italian tradition. Seems that the tradition of Barbarán coming, at least this is school coming from Italy, or at least stay in a very strong relationship with Italy. That is very usual. Barbarán is from the kingdom of Aragon. He lives in the city of Zaragoza. And if you remember, Naples, it's from the Kingdom of Aragon, and all this part of the city-states and kingdoms in Italy have a strong relationship with this part of East Spain. This is the East Iberic Peninsula, because Spain at the times call it is a little bit difficult. Okay, let's go for the next one. What is the next one? Yes, and again, we have the first treatise of Marozzo. The treatise is the same, the first edition, sorry. And I decided to give you first the edition of the 60s in the 16th century. And after this, because sometimes this seems like a Montante, very, very big sword, In my opinion, not. Because if you use our modern conception of the Montante, and everybody thinks about 1 meter and 70 centimeters more or less, 2.5 kilos, more or less, from 2.5 kilos to 3 kilos, move in the Marozzo way, it's very, very difficult. We have some examples from a lot of years ago in YouTube, and some people, very talented people, try to use and represent the Assalti of Marozzo with a Montantes, very heavy Montantes, or Diana or Spadone, but it was very, very difficult. You can feel that it don't work with the speed, agility, flexibility that it must work, But today, I think we can understand that that we can use a little bit small tools, and it works. The next idea is share a video of Marozzo from Opera Nova, from Jacopo Penso and Moreno de Ricci, but I probably it's not possible to share these videos, because I sent the PowerPoint, but probably if the video is not in your computer, it's not possible. Try to do a little bit more, but probably don't work. But this is not very important. The next, please. Again, there are different positions of this, The next one and the next one, because I did it. Yes, probably don't work this video, and I can share with you probably nothing. So the next one, this is not very important. I can describe in this, but if not, you can go to YouTube, not right now, but after. You can go, and only if you write in YouTube Primo Assalti of Marozzo, or the first Assalti of Marozzo, you can find a lot. In my opinion, probably the better usually is my favorite is the Opera Nova interpretation, but there are more, and you can see a very flexible and fast moves, fighting one guy against another imaginary guy. This is very important in this case. So we come back to the Espada de dos Manos and Montante, as the Iberian people using this word. We, in the Iberian tradition, we only have, in the Espada de dos Manos, Barbaran, 1526, 1528, but the rest is all the time talking about the Montante. Anonymous, Carranza, Paredes, Godinho, Pacheco, Figueiredo, Viedma, Pérez de Mendoza, and Rodrigo del Canto. They talk all the time about Montante. But it's the same tool or not is the same tool? This is very difficult. It's not very difficult. It's impossible to say it, But maybe we have some little ideas that we can take to understand the evolution of this, Talking about the evolution of the rules, in the Barbaran movements, we can see something very close to the Marozzo Assalti, but with a difference. The Barbaran rules are, except the last one, the 9, after we will talking about the 9, the 8 rules are a combination of movements, not exactly a fight against one guy. It's a combination. In the first rule is one rising cut, one ascending cut, another ascending cut, and come back. You you come backward with ascending and ascending. The next one is one descending cut, another descending cut. You must understand that it's mandrito and reverso, or tajo y revés. It's right cut and left cut, ascending or descending. In the next one is the combination. The third is the combination. No, the third in Barbarán is thrust, only 2 thrusts. If I remember well, maybe I am in a mistake, but it's not important right now. The 4th rule, if I remember well, is the combination with put in the right leg, you cut in an ascending way, and after with the right leg, you cut in a descending way. If you can see me, or you are showing only the text and the PowerPoint. You can see me. Yes, okay. You can imagine one ascending cut and one descending cut. And the next one is one ascending cut, another descending cut. The next one, the 5th, if I remember well, is ascending, descending, and thrust. I don't sure right now if I mixed it with Figueredo because it's the same rules, but you know. And the other one is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's like a progression for doing more complex movements, but all the time forward, not around you, not for more people. This is very important here. The last one, the last rule, it's a flourish. And this, the interpretation can be controversial, but they show in the last time some interpretation that it's not necessarily a flourish, but the most important thing is the title. The title is La Reverencia. And what is a one reverencia? Is this. So I saw some interpretation in the last times that the people are using this rule like for fight, but my hypothesis, in my opinion, is for sure, this reverencia, it's because the master of arms at the time, 16th century, 17th century, in the demonstration, public demonstration, using the big swords to do complex movements only for be beautiful, for the people, for the public, for the authorities, for the king, for the nobles. So the idea is not necessarily one rule for fights. The idea is one rule for do complex movements and after salute the people. And it's very easy to see this because it's one cut, an ascending cut, another cut, do this, one reverence, one ascending, one descending, and again a reverence. And after you go out and say goodbye. That is important in this case. But this is so sorry for talking too much about Barbarán because I probably am a very boring guy. So let's go with the next one. The next one is the Anonymous of 1563, and it's in the same way. He starts exactly in the same way, but some of the rules are very close to the rules after, to the rules of some authors after this. But we can't be sure about this because the guy don't put titles to the rules. So we can be sure. It's very close, but who knows? The next one is Carranza in 1569. And in this moment, he called the rules with titles. The title to fight in a narrow street, the rule to fight against people in a square, the title to fight in this case in a galley. This is important because the things are changing in this moment. And in the case of Pablo de Paredes in 1599, if I remember well, we have again the titles. And the titles for fight in a narrow street is for fight against more than one guy, You have people in both sides. In the case of the square, it's the same. Maybe in the country against a lot of people, and you are rotating around yourself, fighting against a lot of people. And change, because before we can see in the Marozzo tradition and in the Barbarán, we can see that it's only, or maybe a kata, maybe it's one assalto for fight against one guy, because I cutting the guy, maybe the hand, and after going with a thrust, and after going to cut the guy. and in the case of Barbaran, it's a collection of complex movements. In this moment, we start to see the idea of the big sword fighting against a lot of people. Godinho is exactly the same. He have titles, and is the same in the other guys. We have, in the case of Godinho, well, it's a little bit too long to say you all the titles of the rules. And in the case of Biedma, in the case of the rest of Tratis, they are talking a little bit about the theoretical of the Montante, from not in the case of Biedma, but from the Stretha perspective. That is a little bit different to the collection of rules. This is not in the Stretha tradition, but they talk, all of them talk all the time, includes Godinho and Figueredo, and this is important, that fight one Montante against another Montante is very strange thing. Never happens, except, and Godinho and Figueredo said, never happens, but in case, okay, you must do this, and you can have to do this. In the case of Godinho, he said that you must do the same that I said in my book about the. You can buy this, no, because it's the same book, but you can do the same I am describing with the use of the normal sword. And in the case of Godinho, of Figueredo, he gives us a strange rule, but this is another question, about the strength of the rule for Figueredo. But at the end, it's only one rule between 16, but they said that it's not very useful. We can go more with the pictures. Espadas manos. Yes, Godinho, 1599. Let's go. More, please. I don't know if they, but it's published, You yes, it's published in this moment. Yes, Pacheco y Pérez de Mendoza this is the verdadera destreza guys describing the use of the Montante and the use of the normal sword against the Montante. For Pérez de Mendoza, this is very interesting because for Pérez de Mendoza, the Montante is the king of the weapons. Not for Pacheco. Pacheco is a little bit obsessious with normal sword is the king of the weapons, the king is the king. In the case of Pérez de Mendoza, he said that the Montante is the king, and the only Godinho is the pike. Is who knows why? Yes, because he said that is in all the battlefield. But Godinho, Figueredo. Figueredo said that this is the king or the queen. And in this case, Pérez de Mendoza said that this is the most perfect weapon, but he described the use of the Montante from the Stretha perspective, that this is not a collection of rules, it's not a collection of techniques, it's more about the analysis of the distance of the people and different things. In my opinion, the Montante is not very good for the idea of the Stretha, but okay. Let's go with the next one, please. Let's go with the next one because it's Pérez de Mendoza. Yes, let's go. This is very interesting because it's the book of Pérez de Mendoza in 1675. And in this case, we can see the primes and all the weapons used at the time in the practice of la verdadera destreza de las armas. And there are weapons that they use it for practice. We will have a detail in the next one. Yes, we can see in the left part, we can see the daggers. It's very interesting because they have, in the point, it have something for don't thrust, We have the rodela in Spanish, is interesting this. We have the Montante. It's a Montante without false guard, who knows? Maybe all the Montantes are in this way, or maybe not in the moment. After we have in the right part, we have the buckler. This is a very big buckler because in the end of the 17th century and the end and the first part of the 18th century, the buckler was very, very big, and sometimes as big as the rotelas. For the ideal rotella must cover your shoulder, wrist, and elbow. Must cover your elbows. So usually the normal size of the rotella is from 55 centimeters to 65. It depends of the guys, but more or less is in this way. And sometimes the bucklers becomes to be so big. The difference usually is the buckler is for the sable life and is more light. And we have the swords, of course, in this case, 1675 capsules, or maybe in this case, it's capsules, of course, but big shells cover very good your hand. And this is very interesting because you can see the flail. The name of the flail is mangual. And this is another history, very interesting, but not for today. Let's go to the next one, please. Well, probably, yes, Figueredo, the description of Figueredo, we did it before, and in this case, the important thing of Figueredo, this is very important, because what happens with Figueredo? The first simple rules of Figueredo, not the complex, this is different, but the first 5 simple rules of Figueredo are not exactly the same, but the same with the Barbaran, because it's the same tradition. It's a shame because I had another video, but it will be impossible. After when I will finish, I will try to share with you the video, because I want to show 3 interpretation doing with Montante, not with Espada dos Manos and Montante, but the rule of Barbaran, our first interpretation of the rule of Figueredo, and the second interpretation of the rule of Figueredo, because it's very interesting and very important, probably to understanding the possibility of the tradition and the change of the tradition. In the case of Barbaran, the first one is only ascending cut. I cutting with my right and I cutting with my left and come back again. But our first interpretation of Figueredo was the same, exactly the same, but Barbaran is moving all the time. He cutting with the right and continues cutting with the left. He don't say nothing about the stop. In the case of Figueredo, yes, he said that you cut and you must put the point in front of your face. This is probably in a direct relationship with, if you remember, Pietro Monte. Pietro Monte, the guy of 1509, he wrote the play of Levada, the play of the Spada due Mani, because he said in this moment that all the play start with a ascending cut, but I don't tell before it, and you must stop in front the face of your opponent because you are cutting and after thrusting, And maybe the idea of Figueredo is the same. Maybe, who knows? And probably comes from there, Our last interpretation of Figueredo, I will don't explain why, because a little bit difficult to explain, because he said that start with a cut behind, Our last interpretation, and I will try to share with you after this, but probably from here, we are thinking that maybe the guy are doing this, cutting behind him and coming behind in front, Why? Because in our opinion, because this is a real conception of the Montante for fight against a lot of people. So it makes sense that Barbaran is fighting against one guy and doing this. In the case of Pietro Monte are doing this and after thrust and after who knows. And in the case of Figueredo, it's a big sword. And the conception is for fight for a lot of people. And he are practicing this in the most of the time around him for protect himself, because this is the development of the rest of the rules. The 5 simple rules of Figueredo, it's the same of Barbaran, except the thrust. Only the thrust don't exist in Figueredo, exists in Barbaran. But it's the same. The complex is different because it's for fight. The description is more normal, and the rest of the rules are absolutely different. I think that probably the next one comes the video, but the video don't work properly. No, but this is Joao Cuarto de Braganza and the Prince Teodosio. Figueredo wrote this in 1654, if I remember well, and because he was the master of arms. Or one of the masters of arms and a master of the Prince Teodosio. He was the prince in the moment he was the son of João IV de Bragança, but he dies very young. It was a pity because it seems like a brave guy, but the life at that time was very cruel. So let's go with the next one. And yes, but probably don't walk. This is beautiful to see this, but much more better to see movement, but not. Well, you can imagine. Let's go to the next one, please. Yeah, at the end is Rodrigo del Canto. Rodrigo del Canto. Let's go with Rodrigo del Canto, please. Next one. Yes, it's very interesting because in these two pictures of Rodrigo del Canto, the guy is plenty 18th century. All these books, that you can see there, it's books talking about the other authors of Destreza, Rada, Etelhard, and Pacheco, but not only this. The titles is Science, Mathematics, blah 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 blah, and he have the draw about the dagger, about the small sword, because in this moment he's talking about the small sword, about the rapier, sword in Spanish, not rapier. In this case, they're calling it always sword, and the montante. The montante, the length of the montante must be the same that the sword and the dagger at the same time, because in the last conception of the destreza at the time, the length of the human body must be the same of the montante and must be the same that the rapier and dagger put together, one rapier and one dagger. This is in the last times because for Pacheco, this is too exaggerate in the case of the dagger, of course. Let's go with the next one. And the next one, yes, this is the description for the usual practice in the fencing hall. And in this case, they practice with the hat because the hat was a protection for the face, And in this case, we can see the master. The master have the clothes have the sword, the real sword in the side, and have a montante. Why? Because he put the montante between the guys for separate the fight, and includes, he said, that if one guy is a bad guy, for example, is a traitor, in this way, you must punish the guy with a hit of the montante in his head, but obviously with a flat, or not with the edge. Because in this case, probably the master wants to continue with the payment of the student, of course, Probably this is the most important reason. So let's go with the next one. And we have types of swords. So this is hypothetical, But for sure, we can see with the next one, the big swords using in the first part of the 16th century. Usually Germany, I don't know in other parts of Europe, but more typical is in Germany. So in some parts you can find the same proportion, but in a lot of the same proportion I will describe after the proposal of Pacheco for the good montante. But in some parts, we can see very, very long handles, and not in the proportion of Pacheco. The proportion of Pacheco is 8 parts, 6 for the blade, 2 for the handle. We can see in the first times of these big swords, sometimes a very, very long handles, much more long than this proportion. And in my opinion, makes sense. Makes sense because if you use these very long handles and in some moment you use the false guard, because you can put your hand a little bit forward, in the montante. So you can use this something like a pole arm, a little bit, pam, 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 pam. And probably in the battle, you don't need more things. It's stupid to think about one langsnet in the middle of the battle with this giant, big, enormous sword, understanding that the very, very big and the very, very heavy is probably for it's ritual, it's not a real weapon. But this is stupid thing, if you stay with your companions around, doing this and rotating, probably there are a lot of heads of enemies, but a lot of heads of friends doing pop, 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 pop for all the parts, So probably the use of the Montante, the Zweihander, was a little bit more simple, as usually all the war weapons. So this is one version of the sword. The next one, please. It's yes. We can see that the proportion is not exactly the same. It's very long, And in a lot of these cases, we can see, okay, Flambert's blades, this is interesting. But for me, the important point is not the Flambert blades. The important characteristic is this, the blade. I don't know what is the name for this kind of blades in English, but it's something like very close to the necktie, So it's very powerful in the cut. I can use one of these, shorter, some very close to 1 meter to 70 centimeters, very hard, very heavy, a little bit more than 3 kilos, sharp, and the feeling was terrible because you can feel that moving, you can cut legs or arms or head. So who knows? So let's go with the next, please. Yes, again, more or less the same, this kind of Montantes or Zweihander. Let's go to see the next, please. Yes, again, another one, beautiful. And the next, please. Yes, this is very interesting because this is in the MAM, in the my friend Roberto Scotti's museum, and this is a beautiful what? This is a beautiful what? Because this sword, it's very close to 1 meter and 50 centimeters, it's what is the weight? Sorry, what is the weight? Yeah, very close to 2 kilos, a little bit less than 2 kilos, 1,960. And half of a false guard is a sharp sword. The feeling in the hand is fantastic. You can move this very fast, It's a little bit long for the normal longsword and a little bit heavy for a normal longsword, very close to the 2 kilos. So you can move very fast, but it's a very powerful weapon. Then on the right, stay the Regenjay version, because Peter Regenjay has a version of this. You can buy this. This is because Peter paid me. No, this is a joke, But if you want, you can. Yes, and this is more or less the same size and the same movement. In my opinion, this sword is perfect to do the Marozzo Assalti. In my opinion, this is the expression of Due Mani sword. Bigger than what is a normal longsword. I know that the longsword have a lot of shorter, longer, broad, thin, more heavy, but in our classificate is important for us for understanding the things. So our idea of today of the longsword usually is a little bit shorter and a little bit lighter of this. The real, it's plenty of styles, but the normal is this, medium. And in this case, it's a little bit bigger of this. And even more, you can see the false guard. In the false guard, you can put one hand, but it's very narrow. It's very difficult to put one hand. In the middle of the fight, you can do this because probably you hard your hand. But there are some techniques of Marozzo that if you have this, that is very close to the feather sword of today, it's very useful. This is a good word. Useless is the bad, and useful is for hit the opponent's sword, expulse the opponent's sword. You can have this and pam and expulse the point. And you can imagine that in Marozzo it makes sense. So, in my opinion, this is one possible type of espada de dos manos or espada due mani. Let's go with the next one, please. It's another one. This is another type of this. It's the same, very close model. Some people said that this is the Spanish Montante. Some authors say something of this. I don't sure about this because, the pieces that you can find in the different museums, who knows? Sometimes are documented from a long time, sometimes no. This is very close to the Roberto Scotti collection. The next one, please. And yes, this is fantastic. Again, it's staying the Roberto Scotti's. This is close to the 1 meter and 17 centimeters, 70 centimeters. The weight is 2 kilos and 700 grams, a little bit more. The feeling in the hand, it's like I don't know. In this case, I have 3 different Montantes for practice, but this is very close to the Black Fencer Montante or Regent J Montante, and both have 2 kilos and 500 grams. But when you have a sharp weapon, the feeling is different than the blunt weapon, in the sharp, more heavy, but you feel a little bit more light on the blunt. So it's very close. And of course, when you use this, you can feel that it's not for fight against one guy. Tiki. It's for do big techniques, big movements around you. It's different. The kilon is very long. There are more longer kilons, but this is the most longer kilons that I use. Totally, I 50 centimeters, and this is a lot, half meter. This is a lot. So it's very difficult to use because in the first moment, it's more dangerous for you than for your opponent because destroy yourself with the kilons usually. But makes sense, this length of kilos, who knows this length, and the rings, for me is very important for the practice Montante today, have rings and long kilos, maybe not 50, but 45, at least 40 is very important because there are some techniques that are very important. For example, when you are using the Montante against Rotella guys. In the description, both guys, but in the case of Godinho, you must cut the legs, and after you must put the guard in front of your face, and the point is on in the medium part of the body of your opponent. You want to understand why? Let's go read Godinho and go to the part of the Rotella guy. This is the reason because it's very good description. But you have your guard here because the kilons cover all your body and the rings cover your hand. This is very important. Even Dia de Viedma talking about protect yourself with this kind of position of the handle of the Montante. And this is very important because it's much more easy to use a Montante with a short kilons. A lot of people using this and it's easier. But the usual Montante, if you remember, the dictionary of the 18th century tell us that the Montante have a large, long kilons. So for me, it's very important. Let's go with the next one. I think it's probably an example of this kind of Montantes in the same way. Some people talk about this is the Italian Spadone. I don't know. I show it in Italy a lot of times. For example, in the Palace of the Dukes in Venice, there are a beautiful and wonderful collection of these kinds of models. In my opinion, probably this is the evolution of the Montante, the evolution of the Montante for what? The Montante and Spadone, in some parts, becomes to be a symbol of the master and becomes to be a tool of the master. Alfieri, for what? For fight? Yes, for fight, but not only for this. Okay, it's a tool for the master to use to separate battles as a symbol, but not only for this. Alfieri said to us in his treatise in the middle of the 17th century that a lot of knights of some parts of Europe goes to practice in his fencing hall, but probably with a bodybuilding too. Believe me, if you are using Montante Loft, your shoulders become bigger, not like Schwarzenegger, but in the ghost of Arnold Schwarzenegger way, So the next one is is necessarily the case, obviously not. this is only an hypothesis, this is only one idea. In my opinion, probably yes, it's very close, but we can have more. Next one, please. This is from the School of Rembrandt in 1640. Of course, this seems more a Spada due Mani with this idea than a Montante. Next one. This is the Cornelis de Wael. This is battle in the Cornelis de Wael was specialized in battles and mostly in the sea battles. You can see there. I don't know if I have a detail after, but you can see in the. I don't know what is the name of. There are galleys. There are one galleon, and in front of us there are some small ships, but I don't know. Barcas in Spanish, but I don't know the name in English. But you can see in the left one guy using one what? Montante or Spada due Mani. Maybe I have a detail. Can change the picture, please, Patrick? Yes. It's not very clear, but you can see in the left, on the left. There are one guy fighting against the other guy. This is Spaniards against the Savoyan people. The next one is from Cornelis de Wael too, and this is a battle, again, a sea battle, Turkish, Spanish against Turkish. Probably I have in the next one, I have a detail, probably yes. Yes, we can see not only one guy using, again, two-hand sword, Montante not. We know that the use in the galley, but in the galley, not necessarily in these little ships, was usual. We have two rules from Godinho and from Figueredo, but not only this, the captain of the Rome Navy in the first part of the 17th century have a fantastic name, Pantero Pantera, Panther. This probably is an artistic name, probably, yes. So he talks us that one galley must have 100 arquebus, 20 muskets, 100 half pikes and albards, blah, 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 blah. And he said that to Spadone. Why? The Christian galleys usually have in the part of the back part and in the front part, in Spanish, I don't know in Felipe, I don't know in Portuguese, but in Spanish is proa and popa. Yes. Have something like castles, defending part, the castle of the front part and the castle of the back part. And probably is, I don't know, but probably is one in one part, because in the galleys, in the middle of the galley, you have the people that is in this way, I don't remember the name, but you have a little bridge. And this is the way to defend in this, to defend in this kind of bridge, because the guy is attacking you. So, okay, next one, please. This is 1600, it's again, I don't know if I have a detail, but there are one guy and looks more than a big sword, mostly. It's attacking, it's one city, is by Sebastian Branks. This is Gothenburg. Yes, we have another guy with this. So, who knows? It's a Montante, it's a Spada due Mani, all is a Montante in Spanish, of course, all can be, and probably all can be one Spadone. But in my opinion, the idea it's that it's changing a little bit in different models. And the last one is different parts in Europe that we can see the big swords. The next one we can see these Polish guys from the end of the 16th century, and this is very interesting. That is the gallo glass Irish warriors. In the first of the 16th century, the gallo glass, that is the guy with the chainmail coat, is coming from the Scottish went to Ireland in the some centuries before. For me, it's very interesting because probably all of you knows the horrible TV series Vikings. So sorry. And in one moment, the English people against the Vikings use some kind of strange helmets at the time, that like the gallo glass. I'm sure that the artist guy who have the idea to put these helmets is because he showed the the gallo glass representation. Oh, that's cool. Let's go to the Vikings. And this is a moment to say, fuck you, guy. In the 8th and 19th century, this kind of helmet is for kill you. Okay. So I think, yes, this is a beautiful, the next one is a beautiful representation of these guys. This is Smiley, the guy in the left. This is a good friend, and the other is Cliom. It's a group of reenactment in Ireland. And I can't say nothing more about this. I don't know more. So it's finished. Thanks to you for supporting me in this case and suffering with me my horrible English. But if you have some questions, I try to answer to you. And after you will have time, I try to share the video that I say, but it's not very important to see the video. Actually, this video you can see in the review that we did about the Black Fencer Montante. Is the 30 rules put in the set. If I can say you the minute, because the video is very long, and the only good thing there is the Montante or Black Fencer, and the second good thing is the music of my favorite thing sing in jazz version, so it's very beautiful. So if you want to ask me, I will try to, or you, depends on you, Patrick.
Yes, we can open up
you are the boss, and you can say to me, shut up. It's
so it's okay. Let me check the chat here. There were some people who were interested in watching the video. If you wanted to try and share it.
Oh, I maybe I can to try only one moment. I will come to try to share with you, but probably I can't do. So I send you the information, but one moment, please. Okay, what happens here? One moment.
I just have a training question for the use of the Montante. And
yeah?
I know that to study the rules and to practice them, but what I was wondering is how to apply it safely in fencing with 2 or 3 people at the same time. I've tried fighting 2 people at once, and it was very, very hard to get anything done.
Okay. If I understand well, because for me, if I can't see the face of the guys, it's a little bit more difficult. But about the feeling of safety against rapists, I think yes, it's very easy to feel in your safety, because the Montante can be a brutal weapon, you know. When I teach Montante, the first thing is the biomechanical way, but the second one is, in some moments, everybody in the most of of fencing, in all kinds of fencing, not always, but the most of the times, it's important that the weapon goes first than your body. You know, you move before. In my opinion, in the Montante, sometimes it's not very good. If the Montante is heavy and you are moving first the Montante and have to go with body, you can lose your balance. But in my opinion, it's not important, because you're a rapist, and one guy coming here with the Montante, includes if he's moving the body at the same time, go with a thrust, probably is mortal for you, because the inertia of the Montante continues, you know. So when you are moving the Montante with energy around you, probably nobody goes to you, because it's too brutal and it's very, very long. Of course, you must move. It depends. If you are there are people around you, you must move. And all the masters said, walk, run, jump, and looking for to have the people in front of you, of course, because it's too dangerous with the people around you. In this way, 2 years ago, because the past year 22, the bloody 22 don't exist. 2 years ago, if I remember well, in Bielefeld, there are a meeting of Montanteros in Germany, Bielefeld. They did a very nice and very funny tournament. And the tournament was with a plastic Black Fencer Montante, but of course, rounded with some soft material, you know. And the tournament was continuous alive as you can, the time as you can, against 8, 9 guys with short sticks. And was very funny to see this, because of course, when the Montantero is moving hardly, nobody can arrive. Or they can arrive and hit him, but both dead, So in my opinion, for fight against 2 is very easy. For fight against 3 is very easy, but more, I don't know. So Master says 3, 4 is good. More people, yeah, it's a Montante, it's not Superman. I don't know if I answered your question or probably I have a mistake in this.
No, it's very nice to hear ideas on dealing with multiple people at once, because my goal is to be able to fight 3 people at once and with my greatsword, and it's not easy.
Yes, of course. It's not easy, but you must understand. We must understand that we are thinking about the use of the time, and in the time there are no practice. The idea is you must move fast with energy and very fast around yourself. If you take the time to move the Montante, and I said because some people in videos, it's fighting with the Montante like a longsword, and this is not the way. The way is depends, of course, if you will fight against another Montante or against one spear or half pike, something that the thing change. But if you are moving against shorter weapons, you must be, how to say, a bad guy. A ver cómo es el término abusar in English. Sorry, you must abusar de alguien. So one moment, because I can do contrario. I can translate here. Yes, you must be abusing of your opponent. You must go a lot. Boom, 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 boom. This is a good point with the Montante, and of course you can't use the Montante for a long time because it's very tired for you. So more questions. I will try to short these.
I have a question about Godinho's rule against shield bearers. So far, I only worked with translations of the text and in the original text. Does it specify if you have to move the Montante horizontally around your head, or more, I think, perpendicular is the word, so up, down, or left, right, around? I don't know how to translate it well.
I must look for this because, to be honest, actually, I don't remember. What number of rules say
I think
you,
it's
please?
the 4th and 5th, I think.
And the 4th and the 5th. Okay. I must you if I'm talking about my memories, but I can look in here for. Sorry,
no problem.
One moment. I can look for the looking for the rules. And where is the rules? Fucking, I hate this, because it's too difficult to manage myself with this. So, Segate, Montante Treatise, because I have a lot of collection of different things, so I must look for this. Prima Histórica, Tratados de Esgrima, Montante, where is Montante here? Montante dos manos y mangual, Montante en dos manos, Tratados, Península Ibérica, no destreza, Godinho, 1599, okay, open guide. We have here, Godinho original, traducción Montante, the normal one. This is the original, maybe the normal one. So you said the 4 rule, this opening, yes. The 4 and the 5th rule.
Well, yes, the 4th against shieldmen and the 5th against 2 shield people.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, in our opinion and in our interpretation, the idea is you are cutting the legs with, of course, a relative horizontal cut, maybe it's of course it's descending cut, but at the end is horizontal cut, and the end is round over your head, and you finish in this position.
Okay.
This is the 4 rule, yes. And you finish in this position. Maybe I can have, I don't know, I have no Montante here, but I
I've
have
seen it
two-hand sword.
I've seen it in your movements right now. So it's more the vertical
Yes.
movement. Okay. It's your interpretation.
Yes.
Interesting.
But I have one broken sword, so I can. Yes, this was my favorite, was broken. It's yeah. So the point is, if you stay here, you cut. This is difficult, cut in this way. Probably going down with the body for cut the legs. But this is, in my opinion, is a question of interpretation of your own body in this case, because we have no description. In other moments, Coutinho described that you must fall. But you come in here. So after this, you are coming here. From here, this is difficult because I have the table and I have my books here. It includes this short, so I can't destroy it. But the idea is this, and it just here. And this is very interesting because that I said you before. This, the ring, cover your hand. The kilons cover my body. This is very important. The point of this is in front in front here, And why is in front here? Okay, it's good that you goes to the Godinho and read him, but in this case, what is the technique for the rodelero fighting against the montantero? The rodelero will goes to the montantero, and if the montantero goes to hit in the legs, probably the next hit is in the head, for example, in this way, Again, the normal way is to do this, pam and pam. So the rodelero must rise with the rotella covering his head, parry the montante, and thrusting the other guy here. So, if you are doing this, and after putting the point in the middle of the body of your enemy, probably your enemy goes, he can see it very well because it's covering with the rotella and arrives to the point. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can hit the guy or maybe not, but in any case, the guy will stop, and don't attack you. In the other case, from the fifth rule, that is for 2 or more rodeleros, is the same thing, but it's very interesting for us because here is an interesting exercise of inertias of the montante, the movement of the body. You must come in, this is a little bit difficult, but with your leg, you must go here with only one hit. You are coming here, and continues here. And again, you are coming one to the legs and finishing the legs of the guy on the left and turning to the guy on the right. And after going to the guy on the left, going to the guy of the right and finish to the guy on the left. So the idea is cut, be careful. Cut, be careful. And this is a good idea, at least like an exercise. In the real fight, I don't know. But like an exercise, like the idea of one kata or maybe one assalti or one rule, as is this case, is a very good, and it's very difficult to perform on this because the inertias of the montante and the inertias of all, because you must put your right foot in one part and after with the same hit that is difficult, go to the other part and after turn to the first guy, because you can imagine they are both rodeleros. So attack the guy to the legs, probably the guy coming here, and after attack the other guy, but this guy can attack again. So you are putting the point here, and the guy said, fuck, I'm coming back again. But this guy is coming again. So you attack, and probably the idea is against the guys is go there, be careful. Go there, be careful. Go there, be careful. I don't know if I explain this because probably the technique is the same. The cut to the leg, it's in some part of the cut is horizontal way, must be. Mm-hmm. But the idea is more or less the same.
Interesting. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Something more?
Sort of. I had taken one of the classes I worked on studied Marazzo, and toward the end, and I think that was one of my first experiences using a Montante was doing the praises in Marazzo, and I don't know, they just seemed very silly to me, and I was just wondering, like, what would you use those for?
Well, I'm not sure about understanding very well the question. You are talking about, in this case, okay, one moment. Only for now, you know? Only for now. We will accept my division of the swords and the conceptions. I said only for now because you don't agree with me, and for me it's good, you know? But for now, because it's more easy to describe and things. So, for today, for this conversation, we can call espada due mani, you know, espada dos manos. My idea that the marozzo and the fencing in the palestras in the end of the 15th and the first of the 16th century is a little bit shorter and a little bit more, lighter, you know. After this, we can call Zweihanda to the big battle swords, the big one, you know, the monsters. And we can call Montante or Spadone to the middle, the end of the 17th century, 16th century, then the usual rules, no? So in this case, in my opinion, Marozzo. I'm not an expert in Marozzo, so probably Jacopo, Moreno, Roberto, and the guys of Italy, he will kills me. Probably makes sense, and they are right for kills me. But in this case, my opinion is not the conception of the Montante. Why? In the primo assalto of Marozzo, I don't know a lot of the assalto of Marozzo, but in the primo assalto of Marozzo, starting a high guard, so here, you can see me, yes, in this moment, you know, and the guys attacking here, maybe the hands, and coming here to attack. And after doing different things, and after attacking, at the end, the movement is pam, pam, pam. I remember, pam, and go here and attack, and at the end, coming back, hitting the hands, you know. If you try this is very fast, but it's very fast for fights against one guy. So my point is good, but this is not the conception of Montante after, you know. In the Montante after, the most of the rules is for fight against a lot of people, so it's different. Of course, you can use one spada due mani for fight against a lot of people, and probably there are a lot Montante, and it's the same in a lot of cases, but the techniques is not exactly the same. For example, in the case of, as I said before, in the case of Barbaran, the rule of Barbaran, and he is in the Italian tradition, of course, because remember, this is the guy who changed the Italian words. The rule of Barbaran, it's this. I stay here, cut, but don't stop. 1 and 2, and coming back. 1 and 2. This is the first rule. The second rule is 1 and 2, and again 1 and 2. The three, if I remember well, is one thrust, another thrust. The other one is 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. The other one is 1 and 2 and 3. The other one is 1 and 2 and 3 and cut. But in the case of the modern guys, they're using, probably in the one of the possibilities of the interpretation of Figueiredo, with the same rule, is this. I'm still here. So he said 1 cut behind you, but after it's ascending, you know. So our first interpretation and the videos that stay in YouTube, my videos in YouTube, continues with this interpretation. 1 and finish. But today we are thinking that probably is much more in this way. 1 and finish here. And after looking behind you, cutting with the false edge. This is the reason, because it's the same tradition of Barbaran. And stop it here. So repeat your question, because I think I don't understand it very well, the question, but it's something like the basis of the ideas or the difference between Marozzo and the other guys.
Okay. Patrick might have to jump in and help me with this because he was in the class with me. The praises were the things that we did with the grappling at the end, right? Okay. So they always seem ridiculous to me. to be perfectly honest. And he's partnered with me on these, so he knows how hard I was laughing. Like there were some where you get your opponent, and both opponents have a Montante in hand. So the one involved getting them to draw their weapon back, and then you throw yours over your shoulder and run in and grapple with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of the
All
stuff
I'm
from the
picturing is
from the
professional
third
wrestling at this point. So what? I mean, do you see any other context for things like that, or was it just for showing?
Yes, Patrick or me?
I guess the quick one I would say is just try to kind of separate the use of the Bolognese two-handed sword or Spada Domani from the later Montante Spadone that was more the focus of Ton's talk. I guess that would be the way I would, my shorthand. And so those assaulti that you mentioned, particularly in the third assaulti, and then some of the techniques at the cross sword, or slight different sort of weapon, different sort of context would be my short answer. I'll let Ton.
Yes, but probably all have a strong relationship. To say that this is absolutely different of the other part, I think is impossible. But I think there was an evolution in the use of the weapon, includes in the form of the weapon. But probably you can find the Spanish word for Montante is for all, includes for longsword. This is very interesting because, for example, Pacheco talking about the Montante. Yes, it's because I heard myself, so it's strange. Pacheco, when he talks about the Montante, he said that the people that likes the Montante said that it must have 8 parts and 6 for the blade. But he said that the Montante, the authors that talking about the Montante, it's Marozzo, Joachim Meyer, that he is the translator of Marozzo in the north. And if you think about a lot of people can think that Marozzo is Montante, but Joachim Maya, the longsword guy with the Feda, are using Montante in our modern conception? No, of course, but probably for Pacheco, the Narvaez, both hand sword is a Montante, So probably we can mix a lot of things, but I prefer to perform the different rules of the different movements of the different guys with different tools. And in my opinion, in this case, for the interpretation of Marozzo is better, a little bit smaller sword, like as Reagan, I said, that the copy of the Roberto Scotti is that it's a little bit, and this is only a little bit shorter, and it's a little bit lighter, but you can feel fast in your hand, it's powerful, but faster. That the conception of the Montante you are using, it depends. If you, for example, the arms and arm Montante, do you know the arms and arm Montante or Spadone? It's very nice, but it's between this. It's a little bit lighter than the others. So you can, yes, perfect. So you can use this much more faster. So at the end, as I said before, I think that we need classificate Patrick, do you have the Italian Marozzo? Yeah, perfect, beautiful.
Yeah,
Is
so that's the Kano one, right?
The Kano, yes.
And then that's the arms and armor, Spadone.
Yeah. So I think we need classificate the things, and it's good to classificate the things. Some people say, no, classificate is not valid. Yes, we need, because we can understand nothing. But after you classificate the things, we must understand that this is not necessarily true, that all is mixed all the time. But probably the classified way, it's the most usual at the time, It's only the most usual, but not the only one. And of course, probably less usual than we think. I'm sorry for this stupid answer.
So I have one more question before I go, and it's about reasonability of accounts that I've read. My main focus is on the Scottish two-hander, the really big one. And there's certain accounts that I've read of the chieftains who wielded them cutting through a musketed rifle trying to stab him. He cut through it and then continued on to nearly kill the guy who ran off and jumped into a river. And also other accounts of them cleaving through pikes and things like that. Does this sound plausible to you with a similar style swords, like anything from the Montante traditions of breaking pikes, going through the pike and into cleaving the guy who was wielding it in half?
It's a difficult question, and probably there are people who knows much more than me. In Bielefeld, in this meeting 2 years ago, for Montanteros, but not only for Montanteros, no, for people who use the Spadone, was one of the Hego Grof. It's a German guy, and he's he's a very nice guy, and he's very in the world of the Highlands, German guy. It's very, and he have a group and a web page, and it's Highlander. I must to look for this, and the guy was give an interesting lecture about the evolution of the Scottish sword. A good part of the Scottish sword was a big sword. After this is the controversial way of about the claymore is at the time the basket hill, because it's in the comparison of the small sword in the 18th century, because the small sword is the usual sword. So at the end, and makes sense for me because we have another different examples in other parts. But coming back for the use of the great Scottish sword, I don't know. For example, in the case of the Montante, in the rules of the different authors, we can find one against the pole arms. That is Domingo Luis Godinho. Domingo Luis Godinho have one rule against the armas de arremeso, but armas de arremeso maybe it's against these kind of things, because we must remember that I don't know what is the name in English, but the light spears to no sé cómo se dice, arrojar. Yes, are usual, the dardo in the medieval, in the Middle Age, in the Renaissance, and probably in the modern way, and maybe arremeso. I don't know, Felipe, you know more than me about this, but maybe meaning in this case, this kind of weapons, but for sure is against the pole arms too, because he's talking about the use, the Montante against one pike. Yes.
Perdão, sorry, what's the rule?
Oh, me pillas ahora. I will look for this because I don't remember the number of the rule, but stay there. I'm looking for this.
But yeah, the Portuguese should
have
against darts, because
pero contra armas de arremeso. Who knows? So let's go. Yes. So the point is, he described the use of the Montante against the pike. It's again only a training, because if you stay in the battlefield, you will fight not only one pike. Probably there are a lot around. Probably nobody will fight in a single fight with a pike, because the pike is so long, But the idea of the Montante rule is not broken the pike, because probably this is a little bit mythological, The pike is strong, it's strong, it's fat, understand me? I don't know the word in English, but it's fat. And broke the pikes probably is very, very difficult, because if you have some very solid position, is good, but one human, you hit, my hands are doing this, and probably it's difficult. So the idea, in this case of Figueredo, he has some ideas, and one of these is, if I stay in this position, is the hit coming here, I push, and I go around myself, sorry, because this, and around myself, and I have to jump to go to the guy, So, must be a pike, because the jump is stupid. If you are using one spear or one halberd, you must talking about 2.5 meters. So, if you are using one Montante, it's enough go around to you. You don't need to jump. But in one pike, 5 meters, 6 meters, 4.5, yes, you use this, in one side, for this side, and in other side is the same. And in order the guy attacking your legs, so you need to do something different. So it's pushing and walking, and after walking to the guy, and it's 1 and 2 and 3 and maybe 4. Sorry, it's something like this. The rule. You need to, in this way, outside, for one side, and after continues and hit the spear, because after I will explain some this, pam, and after jump to hit the guy, or maybe includes to cut the guy. This second hit is very important because, for example, in Pacheco de Narváez, sorry, one moment. Because Pacheco de Narváez tell us that the difference between the short weapons like rapier, or in this case probably like the Montante is considered short weapon too, in comparison of the pole arms, the long weapons, it's that the selection of the distance. In the short weapons, you use the foot and the legs for select the distance, but in the long weapons, as the pole arms, you can use both things, the legs, the foot, and you can use your hands, in this way. For probably, they think that in the first bow to the legs, you attack, and your opponent pushing to this side, so you can do this and attack again. So the idea is this, and after hit again, and after go to the guy, This is the techniques against the pike, but in my opinion, this is one non-natural technique, or because in the real battlefield, you have a lot of guys and you have a lot of points of pikes coming to you, So paying your attention in one pike is a little bit stupid. And I can say you more because there are no more descriptions. So I can think different things, but in the description is the only one that I know. In my opinion, of course, makes sense that one Albert or one Montante can open one space into the pikes. Broke, I think, is very difficult to do this, And in the case of the Highland big swords, is a difficult problem because it's a big sword. It's not necessary. It's not necessary a Montante, and it's not necessary a long sword. It's something brutal, but probably there are a lot of techniques there, But seems, I don't know, a little not the word is not necessarily balanced, but a little bit more close to this Zweihanda, but in a short size. But it's only one appreciation for my part, but I have no experience with this, so I can say you more because I don't sure.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that questions in the comments didn't get lost. So we had a question from Tibi about which treatise do you recommend starting with for understanding of biomechanics, and then a follow-up from that. And maybe, Tibi, did you want to ask the question yourself?
Yeah, okay. The first thing, very important for all the people who want to learn Montante, in the idea of the Montante is long and have long kilos. Very, very more important. And this, I never understand why in the German tradition, everybody used the last word in this position, but in the Montante tradition, everybody are using the Montante in this position. I can't understand this. Why I said this? Because in the Montante, and the problem is I have in one Montante here, and not the space to move. If I use in this, the hammer handle, in this way, when you are moving, you hit yourself. This is very useful. The people are using in this way, bam, here, bam, in the head. The most horrible is in the head. Godinho for sure, and if I remember well, Figueredo say something about this. They talking about this finger. You must put this finger in the Montante. Yes, if you are using this finger, all the movement, because the option of the people who are using the Montante all the time in this position of the hand is do it very open, but not very flexible. The Montante sometimes, the most of the times, must be open, because you must control the bigger range around you as you can, of course. You must to be able to control this, but you must be flexible and fast. So at the end, you can see a lot of montanteros doing this. And they said, why? Because you can move in this way, This is very safety for you, because you can come closer to your body, because you stay here, I don't know if it's possible to see the kilons, because but here, no. So you pay attention in some of our videos, we are moving in a flexible way, We are moving in a very flexible way, but open, Yes, but it's very old. So we are moving very old, and we can change, because when you know how to move here, and you can cut with true edge, and you can cut with the false edge. I don't know if you can see, with the false edge and with the true edge. False edge, true edge. You can all the time. It's much more faster to move. But when you want, you can change. You can come in and you can do this. You can see my hand. And after you can turn again. And this is my point about the Montante. The most important point about the move de Montante. Start to training all the time here. This is the most important. But here, it's here. It's not here. It's not important to put the finger here. It's not important. But they're talking with the finger in the flat. But the finger, it's only one finger. The important is not the finger. The important is the hand, is the position in the hand. So this is the position here, not here. Because a lot of people goes and put I put in the finger. No, guy, fuck you. No, you are not putting. You are putting the finger, but not the correct position of the hand. And of course, always we must remember that the use of the sword usually must be flexible, and it will moves a little bit, and a little bit is depending. It must rotating inside your hand a little bit, depending of the moment of the moment of the movement, because it's not the same. Stay here, open your head, that they stay cutting. For example, from here, you can move a little bit from here. Yeah, exactly. And when you come here, you can rotate in the sword. So it's not bad for you, because with a long kilons, you can hit yourself. But it's finished here. But my recommendation is in the first movement, don't change. Use all the time in this position. And after, when you're doing it very well, for you is use unnatural and natural, no, unnatural. So in this way, in this moment, start to change. So talking about the rules. Probably the better way is to start with. You can, for me, Barbarán is not Montante, but you can do Barbarán as a Montante, So for me, it's not the same weapon, but I think you can try Barbarán with a Montante. This is important. So you can start with Barbarán because it's very easy. Not the flourish, but it's very easy because it's a chain of movement. The first one, the second one goes to the difficult point, and after you can continue with the 5 simple rules of Figueiredo. After this, goes to Figueiredo or to Godinho. Both are wonderful. Or to Saviolo. Saviolo at the end is the same way of movement. Change. For example, Saviolo have a wonderful exercise like the 1 cross, 2 cross, 3 cross, or 4 cross. That is very good because it's one cut and another cut and continues. The other one is 1, 2, 3 and come back, and the other one is 1, 2, 3, 4. But makes sense. You can find sense when you are researching and understanding the rules. At the end, you can find the logic of the movement. Because, for example, in the four, explain here is a little bit difficult. They call it crosses because you are going in front, behind, on one side, another side. But actually, it's not a cross, it's a cut, a simple cut, you know? So in the case of Saviolo, for example, he cut in front of him, and the next step is cutting behind him. And the next step is cutting to the left, and the next one is cutting to the right. I will do the movement one moment without this because it's impossible. It's something like this. It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you can say, a stupid thing, it's easy, it's normal. But the most of the people try to do this in the first moment. 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's not possible because this is too much inertia. So you mix it. So the point in this rule of Saviolo, it's 1, 2, and here, this quarter of cycle is the only one. So it's enough to don't, that the inners don't win you and move in a bad way, you know? Why I explain this? I'm explaining this because it's important to perform the movements as the guy said, looking for the logic of the movement, and the usually you can find the right way to do this. Yes, you can to ask me something.
Yeah, I have another question. So, oh, by the way, my name's Tybee. This is amazing. Thank you so much for putting this together and for
thanks to you for suffering
everything. So when do you transition from false edge or from right edge to false edge? Because the logic of the movement, yes, got it, but I have no idea how to do that.
Okay, it's not difficult, but I need probably to use another different weapon for explain to you. So I go to take another different weapon. Yeah.
Just to clarify, I think Ton was talking about Alfieri's 3 and 4 crosses, not Saviolo, although he was in Saviolo. Yeah.
So it's not very difficult, you know, because, for example, if you imagine that you stay with one single sword, this is not sword, it's a dagger, you know, but I like my house and I don't like to destroy it. So imagine I stay with my left leg in front of me. So if I can do an ascending cut, I will cut here because I am holding in this way, you know, not in this way. You can see this. So if I cut with the in this way, and I'm cutting with the true edge. But if I am coming with the left, I can do this from this to this, and for comeback, I will do the same. So this is very easy for me. In the German tradition, they are using a lot of these cuts, you know, and it makes sense. I can attack to you with my false edge and continue with my right true edge, you know, for example, from here to here. But the body, your own body, calls to you for use this or not. If you are holding the sword in this way, for you, it will be natural. You only need to move, and this is my recommendation, for start to learn, and for some body mechanics, is good to use a stick. And it's good to use a stick because it's not dangerous for you, and you don't need to pay attention in the different edges. So you can use one stick and take some, you know, not warm up. Natural for you, the movement of the shoulders, the movement of the legs, of the knees, all of these things. After, in my opinion, you want a long sword. Why? Because the long sword is a little bit lighter and have short kilons, but try to do this with my recommendation of start to learning in this position, you know? And after this, you can use the Montante. And you can mix in your practice all of these things, because sometimes practice all the time with the Montante is very hard for the shoulders. If the Montante is heavy, it's very hard for the shoulders. So sometimes to leave the Montante, use the long sword or maybe the stick can be good. But when for you it's natural, this kind of holding the sword, the proper movements call for use one or other age. In the rules, sometimes they said what is the good age to use, So try to do this, for example, in Figueredo. But after you can decide it, because you can mix. For example, it's absolutely possible to do the second rule, the first rule of Barbarán or Figueredo, not here, and do this here. That is typical. It's absolutely possible. But this gives you more possibilities to learn using this kind of movements, gives you much more possibilities than here, So after you can select, if you want to do it, for example, maybe you can cut doing this cut and cut with the false edge, or maybe you can move and cut with the through edge. The important thing is at the end of the movement, turning again, from here, turning again. For don't hurt yourself with the kilon. So I don't know, if you want in some moment, take one video and send me and I can say, yeah, but turning a little bit here or there, because talking in this way is very difficult. But the basic idea is this, try with more easy weapons. And after, probably when you start to train with the real Montante, probably the proper movement call for you, this is good or this is not good. And not only this, the kilon will tell you very clearly. And in this moment, you can think, oh yeah, I was wrong. Yes, I was wrong a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
times.
I've been beamed in the head.
The secret for don't do this too much times. The secret is using more in this way. Believe me, I have experience in this.
Adding on to that question, there are plenty
Yeah.
of historical examples of Zweihanders with the ring with something in it, like a cross or some kind of decoration, so you can't put your thumb on the blade. For those
You said
cases,
in the Zweihander. In the Zweihander.
yes.
I don't know. The other day, one guy, swordsmith from here for Spain, sent me one Zweihander that he makes, but according to a original, and was very long. I do not remember, but close to the 2 meters and more than 3 kilos, but close to the 4 meters. But this seems that it's possible to use this because, of course, this is very long. You move the weight is easier, But the Montante have, I don't know how to explain, but this ring here in this position. There are a lot of balloon swords with this point, grip in this way, here. So I don't know. He said to me, no, I'm doing in the movement because he sent to me one video and I said the same. No, using this way. And he said, no, it's not possible because it have one ring here. So they are doing this movement. So I don't know, because for me, it makes more sense in a very long tool, makes more sense to move in this way, because it's stupid to move with the flats. And if you are moving in this way, you are doing shorter the arm. In this position, it's nice for do a lot of different things. But in this position, you are doing with the flat, and the flat never, it's stronger. It's not a question of the flat, it's a question of the position of the hands. Of course, Jathibot and Bers use the flat because the position of the hand is this, So he is very strong because the thumb is pushing, so you are very strong. So I said that this is not a question of the flat. But in this case, as it seems that the grip of the sword must be this, you are using the flat, so it's very foible. So I can understand. Use this is to be shorter, because here you are longer and here you are shorter. But I don't know. One possibility is that in the other part you can put the finger in the other part. Why no? And put the index finger in the ring. This is a possibility. But as we have no idea that what is the way to use the Zweihander, no treatise, I can say nothing. Probably the experimental archaeology can be much more better for this, that the things that I can say, because my point is the treatise and my point is the reconstruction of the treatise, but I'm not a reenactor and I'm not in the experimental archaeology.
All right, Tom, we're at 2 hours, 20 minutes in, so maybe I don't want to keep you too long, but I know we have a few more questions.
Deepest sorry, guys, it's my fault, I know.
And I know we had, I had some technical difficulties, so there's some people who came in late, so I do apologize for those of you who came in late. But we have about 10 minutes, so if we have a couple more last questions while we have Todd on the line, that would be great. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to get their questions asked. So who is next, either in the chat or?
Well,
I've
put another question in the chat.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Ton, you're actually hinting at that now as well. So you mentioned that there are differences in the lengths of the grips in comparison to the total sword size, which can be used in formation to use them differently. But how does that impact how you use them in the rules, where you're by yourself and have all place available?
Yes, this is a very interesting point. Absolutely. Of course, we need. There's one book, but I haven't it. Talking about the Montante Zweihander. I don't remember the name of the author, but I can look for this and put in your page in Facebook, Patrick, for example, the name of this and I can share in your page the video, that I said before, the review about the Black Fence and Montante, because this part of the video, the ascending cuts of the different rules, and I can put this and said, take an overview about this minute, But talking about this, we must, Niccolo Menozzi and Jan, what is the name of this German guy? Chris, Jan the Montantero Bon. So I don't remember I don't remember right now the sure name of this guy. They are doing some very interesting research about the comparison of different weapons, in different countries and different museums. We must to do this for understand something, but in the application of the techniques, for me, in my opinion, the techniques coming from the real techniques Montante, coming from the middle of the 16th century. Before we can talk about Barbarin and we can talk about the Marozzo and the Bolognese style and probably not a lot more. But the real techniques, the idea techniques like Akatas, Taos, or Punset in Korean tradition, martial arts is Punse or Punse. These kind of choreographies, and sometimes acrobatic choreographies coming from the second part of the 16th century. So at the end, you are plenty of movements, pam, 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 pam. And this is very interesting, this. This is the reason, because I said that do it in the battlefield, in the line with your bodies. Maybe the body said, fuck you, guy, go out and don't kill me because pa, 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 pa. So do this kind of acrobatic thing. At the end, the proportion that Pacheco gives us for a normal body, because I'm talking about a normal guy. For Pacheco, the normal guy at the time, not for Pacheco, for in the Spanish tradition, the normal guys have there are 68 centimeters tall, But includes today, maybe one Montante must have the same length, but we can have a little bit longer. So at the end is, for example, my Montante, for me, I have 1 meter and 76, 77, more or less, My Montante have 125 centimeters and 45 centimeters of handle. So for me, that I am a normal guy, I have no very short legs and very long arms, or not very long, short arms and very long legs, because this is important, you know? So for me, that in a normal proportion, the movement with the shoulders, you know, these kind of things with the shoulders, it's very good. It's very, it's in the proportion. It's especially good for me. But if I am using a very long handle, so if I hold in here, you know, here and here, for me, this is difficult, becomes too difficult to move. So, but you are a stupid guy. You can change your position of your hands. Yes, it's true. But have some bad things. If I come in from here to here, the kilos are much more dangerous for me because the movement is not very controlled. So, yes, this is very controlled, but here becomes in danger for me. And the second one, I like to hold my Montante and my longsword here, you know, I prefer to hold here because, you know, these kind of things. But includes this is good. But if you, for example, you need to hold in this here, in this moment, because it's too long, in this moment, this is very uncomfortable. So this is the reason, because the proportion of Pacheco is good. So we can consider that if you, for example, if you are a very short human, use a very long Montante, it's too hard, because at the end, you must stay all the time here, and it's very hard for your shoulders. So the good idea is the same. I always forget the word in English to the tall of the people. You know, I forget it for all my body, because all of you say to me, yes, it's this word. Yeah, yes, it's true. But I can't remember never. I don't know why, but my brain is in this way. So the point is, probably the better thing is have one Montante the same length of you, or maybe a little bit shorter. But longer than you, better no, you know, because at the end you stay here all the time and destroy your shoulders. I don't know if the answer is enough, or the proportion, remember, 8 parts, 2 for the handle, 6 for the blade, or it's the same, 4 parts, 1 and 3 is the same.
Okay. Maybe one last question for Tom?
Yeah, I'm curious, was the Montante like commonly used in or against armor, and was it considered effective against the armor of the time, or not?
The armor, I don't know, but probably no. Probably no. And I think you can see this if you take an overview to the medieval combat today. The first thing is the Montante is shape. The opposite of blunt is shape. Yes, it's a question. Yes. Of course, if you're hitting in a piece of metal, you are doing nothing, you know. It's interesting because, for example, they are in the collection of the Spadone of the Palace of the Dukes in Venezia. There are some more strong points in the Montantes. Are very interesting. In fact, if I find my pictures, or I put in your Facebook page, because it's very interesting. You know, it's some reinforced to hit the guy. But you can see today the if we consider that the better thing of the Montante for fight is the cut, usually is the cut, because for the thrust, use a spear. So the good point, and I'm not talking about the Zweihander. I'm talking because look at this. The Zweihander have one blade like a neck tail, but we are talking our conception for today of the Montante and the Spadone. You can see the better thing is use the cuts, because you are controlling around yourself, and it's a brutal way, and the rapiers they can't come very close to you. So in this case, we can see the medieval combat, and in the medieval combat they are using brutal weapons and hitting in the armor, and nothing happens. Understand me? Relative nothing happens. So For example, in the galleys they continue using Montante, but step by step the armor disappear, and even more in the Mediterranean wars against the Turkish using chainmail, but they are not using a lot of armors as plate armors, you know. So I think we can consider that the history of the Montante, the history and the Albert is more or less the same. In the end of the medieval times, the 15th century, we can see brutal Albert, but more round. You know, the head of the Albert is a little bit mixed with the point and with the pike from the other side, but it's very brutal, probably heavy, because they are fighting against armors. Step by step, during the 16th century, we can see as the Alberts becomes in a little bit lighter and have more thin blades and different angles. Why? Because step by step, coming to the cities for the bodyguard, for example, in the Vatican, you know, in Rome, the guard of the Pope, they are bodyguards. Yes, all of us knows the battle in Rome in the first of the 16th century, but I'm talking after, you know, during the end of the 16th century, 17th century, 18th century, 19th century, 20th century, and 21st century, they continue using Albert. Probably they have pistols inside the clothes, but the point is these Alberts are not heavy, but have a lot of angles. Why? Because they probably fight is against people who don't carry armor, you know? So you have a lot of angles. And I had in my hands some original Alberts, some of them with original sticks, you know? And in the modern way, they are not very heavy. So one Albert against one armor is not very heavy, probably don't do nothing. But if some assassin or some popular revolt in the streets is perfectly, you move the Albert and everybody runs a lot, you know. So that's the point. Sorry for the explanation.
No, quite good, Don. I know we probably have many more questions, but we're at about the 2.5 hour mark, so I want to make sure Ton can go on with the rest of his evening. Ton, did you want to leave any contact information for yourself in the chat so that people can follow up? And again, most of you have seen my Facebook group page and things. Ton will also be loading some stuff up there, and so I'll have to do that. Yes, I think we can do another one of these. I can listen to Ton talk for hours, so that's
I'm so boring. So I don't know. I think probably the only one guy in Facebook with this name am I. The name is strange. I know, you know, a lot of people consider that I am an Asiatic guy, but it's not true. This is the reason is because in Galician language, the name, the Anthony, you know, Antonio in Spanish is Anton. So the diminutive is Ton. My surname comes from other part of Spain. So one village, the name is Puey, so my name loses the O, so it's Puey. So sounds a little bit Asiatic, but not. It's Spanish in this case. And if you need something, you can contact with me across Facebook, or if not, across Academia da Espada page, Facebook page. But I am very easy to find. So, and if you need something, just call for me, and I answer you. Sometimes I take a little bit of time because it depends of the, you know, of the job and this kind of things. But so sorry, it happens. But at the end, I say so sorry, and this is the answer. And
yeah.
And I don't know how more.
I'll follow up some folks here as well. If you're, I've taken your suggestion to heart, so we will try and get another one of these with Ton, and maybe we can shape it to a couple things that you guys want to have. Maybe a little more. We did a lot of the history today, so maybe we can do one more about techniques and interpretation of rules, perhaps. Next time, that might get at some other things that people would like to do. I think that would be good. And, all right. So thank you all for joining us.
Sorry. Hopefully,
So thank you all for joining us. I plan to have more of these in the future. Probably next one, I've got, I think, Maestro Francesco Loda talking about Marcelli Rapier, a few other folks, and we'll get Ton back again, which would be awesome. And then I've also tried to maybe reach out to his, Ton was mentioning some of Roberto Giotti's people to talk about Bolognese and Marazzo and things would be good. So we'll keep this kind of, as I said, about 1 or 2 months I'll try to do. And we'll try to set up something again with Ton. So if you would just please join me, just saying thank you to Ton. And I do apologize for those of you who were late coming to the meeting. That's my own fault for technical difficulties. So my apologies to that. Thank you very much, Ton.
Thank you very much, guys. A big huge for all of us, and stay safe in these difficult and strange times. Hopefully, we need the next year, probably we come back to the normal life and the beautiful life. So this is for you.
Next time, Ton, you come to see us at the Drain event in real life.
Yeah, of course. Yes, for sure. I crying for all of this, yeah, guys. Yes.
Real life is the best.
Miss you a lot.
Yeah, we miss you too also.
And
cheers. Ciao.
And we'll get you back in Pennsylvania again, Ton.
Yeah, of course. I want. So, bye, guys.
Bye. Have a good one.